If you've ever wondered why you cannot stop using drugs or why you cannot change a habit that you have, like using or partying or these patterns that we see in our lives, then I have something that is going to change your life. So pay very close attention. But before we get into it, I need to ask you this. Do you have a car? Think of what color your car is, or the car of a close person in your life if you don't have one. Is it a van, a truck, a car? Is it two-door, four-door? What color is the interior? Do you have a refrigerator at home? What color is it? Does it have two doors or more? Does it have a pull-out drawer? Do the doors open to the left or to the right? Now, let me ask you this. When someone mentions the mind, are you inclined to think of the brain, like most people? Or some people say a mess of yarn intertwined or rubber bands intertwined. The mind is not the brain. The brain is no more the mind than your hand, your foot, your fingernail. Now, see, when you're going there in your mind, you think in images. So when we're trying to change our mind and we don't have an image for it, but we think in pictures, when I said, what color is your car? Is it two-door, four-door? You go into your mind and you have an image of it, right? So if we're trying to change something, we need to think of it in an image. That's how we work as human beings. So how do we change something if we don't have an image of it? So what I want to show you is an image of the mind, and it's worth its weight in gold. This is a super, super valuable lesson and illustration that I'm about to show you that will change your life if you let it. This is the mind. We draw a line across. This is you. This is your body. So all our lives, we have been taught to learn and see things through our five senses. These five senses, hear, see, smell, taste, and touch, are like little antennae that we observe the world with. We then entertain conscious thoughts in here. Based on the outer reality, things going on out here, we take this information in with our senses and we build thoughts. We determine if this is a positive or negative. So that could be a negative. This could be a positive thought. And we do this over and over and over again. These thoughts become implanted in the subconscious mind. So at the top half up here, you have the conscious mind. The bottom half is the subconscious mind. Now realize that everybody has this thing called a paradigm. And a paradigm is a set of beliefs, habits, and behaviors that have nearly exclusive control over your life. So when you're saying, I don't know why I keep doing this, I don't know why I cannot stop using drugs, understand you have this thing called a paradigm that is a subconscious program and that lives in your subconscious mind. So it's not conscious. You're not consciously aware of it. And we're acting on autopilot. Humans are like autopilot. When you get up in the morning, you probably don't think much of getting dressed, brushing your teeth, going about your day. It's just automatic. Putting your shoes on, tying your shoes. Now, when we were kids, we didn't have any clue how to tie our shoes. We might have put our pants on over our head and put our arm through a pant leg, and it was just silly. Over time, though, we learned how to get dressed and how to take care of ourselves. And today, we don't even think about it. So this idea up in the conscious mind, up in here, over and over became like a program. And I draw this like a chipboard. That's how I look at it. So let's take, it doesn't matter if this is a positive or negative thought, it's still the same process. This subconscious programming will cause us to feel an emotion. And I always draw it right in the neck area and the chest area because I feel that's where I feel a lot of emotion from. So that emotion must express itself. And the only way it can express itself is through our body. So that emotion comes down, we express it through our body. This gives us a result. Now, if you're wondering, well, I don't know what my paradigm is, I don't know if I need to change something, and maybe it's blatantly obvious you need to change something. It's like, how do I understand what the paradigm is? Well, take a look at your current results in life, your environment, the people around you, the money you have in your bank, the drugs you have on you, the drugs in your arm, the drugs in your lung. Just take a look at your results in life. And we allow these results then to come. We sense the results with our five senses, and we allow the outside, the exterior result right here to determine what we're thinking in here. Again, these thoughts come down over time with repetition. It builds this program called the paradigm. We have these emotional responses in our chest here. Let me change colors. In our chest here, these emotional responses that must be expressed. They must express themselves. So we've done this so many times, we're not even realizing it. And these expressions happen through the body, through our actions, and give us a result. Okay? You with me?
Yes.
So look, we're letting the outside, this stuff, based on our five senses, determine how we think, ultimately how we feel, and how we act, which gives us the result, which starts the process all over again.
Wow.
So the question is, how do I change my results in life? How do I change this? The bottom line, we all want better results, right?
Yes.
And I'm sure that we all know at least something we could be doing to get better results in life. But how come we don't? Well, it's uncomfortable. We only think thoughts that we're in harmony with. We wouldn't think something that we're not in harmony with. If you're not a multimillionaire business owner, you don't wake up in the morning thinking, okay, how can I level up my business? Let's say in addiction, we don't wake up and say, oh, I'm so glad that I don't have that evil gorilla on my back today. No, we wake up and we think, oh man, another day. I got to go do this. I got to do that. How am I going to get money? How am I going to get the next one? Who can I manipulate or rip off? Or how can I get what I need? And over and over and over again, these things become programmed in the subconscious mind right in here. We feel it. We act on the feeling, gives us a result. So how do I change my results? How do I stop using? Well, it's going to be the repetition of information over and over again. And we got to choose. We have this power that flows to and through us, right? This universal power that flows to and through. It's coming in. It's an unadulterated creative power that we can choose to do anything we want with. And what do we do with it? We choose a negative a lot of times. And that negative comes down into the subconscious mind. Over time, through repetition of these same thoughts and ideas, builds this program that makes us feel something that must express itself, and it expresses itself in our actions, which gives us the result. Now, I know this is getting kind of messy, so thanks for bearing with me, but we need to start to change and challenge our thoughts and beliefs. Whenever we are faced with some kind of outside circumstance, something outside of us, We have these things called mental faculties, which are higher senses. The only thing that separates you from a horse, a dog, or a pig is our mental faculties, and there's 6 of them. We have the will, intuition, reason, imagination, memory, and perception. So we can choose how we perceive things, we can reason. These higher mental faculties are what separates us from the rest of the animals. So if there's something that happens in our life that we don't like, we have the ability to put a positive on it anyway and immediately look for the good that is happening. So if you've ever wondered, why can't I stop? I keep doing this over and over again, and I don't understand why. This is why. It's called a paradigm. And the paradigm, again, is a set of beliefs, habits, behaviors that has nearly exclusive control over your results in life. This over here, the results.
Interesting.
Okay. This in here, this little computer chip I drew in the subconscious mind is controlling your results out here, and we're not even aware. We don't even know that we don't know. And again, we have this power that's flowing into us that we can choose to do whatever we want with. So we need to start to choose positive ideas, even in the negative situation. This is where a lot of people get caught up in this, like, well, my circumstances are horrible. How am I supposed to think positive about? That's like an impossible thing. Well, no, it's not. The fact that you think it's impossible makes it so to you. So we need to change that and say, no, this isn't impossible. This is possible. And right there, just with that thought change, you're starting to create a shift, and you'll feel it. You will feel the emotion change in you. This will change your actions and how you respond to it. So we decide to choose a positive thought. Okay, what possible good could come from this lifelong crippling addiction? Well, a lot of it. I am a person who can testify on this and speak on it. A lot can come from this. For example, I have learned that all my past addiction and suffering was simply just training so that I could help other people through this. So whatever you've been through that has been hard in your life, whatever you've been through that has seemed like it has almost taken you out, crippled you in fear, shame, guilt, whenever we start to think differently and we can start to get through this with help of other people, like I've had plenty of help, trust me. This isn't just me. And I've had really good teachers and mentors. I didn't know this until a few years ago, maybe 2.5 years ago. This idea was introduced to me. And so now, when I am walking around the world, interacting with people, I see a line right through the center of their head. And I realize that they have a program in there that is making them think, feel, and act a certain way. That's what was going on with me. So in traditional recovery, NA or AA, they say, come set up the chairs, get here early, fellowship, make the coffee. And it's like, why would I do that? How is that going to get me clean? Okay. And we do this over and over, maybe for months, years, whatever that time period is. And we start to see this change. Well, what they don't tell you in traditional recovery is that you have a paradigm. And through repetition of ideas over and over again, you will actually start to change the programming in your subconscious mind. This will start to create a different emotion and feeling and different actions, which will ultimately give you a new result. So if you don't like the results that you have in your life right now, pay very close attention to this lesson, because this is literally how you change it on a scientific level. This is the information. And you're going to find, if you study this kind of stuff, a lot of people phrase it a little differently. There's different people, Dr. Joe Dispenza, Bob Proctor. There's so many people. There's people from the past, like Think and Grow Rich, the book by Napoleon Hill. You'll see that they all have some of the basic premise of this idea that I just showed you. And you know you're on to something then. Okay, so we need to make this idea our own, and we need to apply it. We need to realize that we are letting the outside circumstances, the bank account, the report card, the sales sheet, dictate how we act and how we think. We have the power to change that. We have the power to look at our results and say, okay, this was good. This pain, that was a great learning experience. This thing that I'm going through, this situation that seems impossible, this carries with it the seed of an equal or greater opportunity. Every adversity carries with it the seed of an equal or greater opportunity. So, how we move through adversity is going to greatly affect our results in life and how we think about it. So, if we're looking at the bank account and it's close to zero or negative, and we say, well, man, I'm just never going to get it. I'm always going to be poor and broke. This is just how it is. And what do? We've believed that lie. It's created this negative feeling, which we have to express, and we express it through our actions, through our body, the only way it can be expressed. And it gives us this result that's negative. And we do this over and over, and the negative result reinforces the thinking that we're sensing with our five senses instead of saying, okay, let me turn off my logic and my senses and let me go inside. Because anything I want to see changed on the outside, I first must change it on the inside. It's an inside job, and you'll hear that in traditional recovery. It's an inside job. And this is where it's coming from, the subconscious. I got to change my thinking, even though I haven't experienced it yet in my conscious reality, in my exterior results. That's beside the point. And this is where this can be tricky for people because it's like, well, I'm homeless, man, or I'm broke and I'm about to get kicked out, or I lost my kids, or I lost my significant other and I can't stop using. And you're telling me that I have to feel and think like I've already stopped in order to stop. Well, yeah, you do. You've got to start to think differently. That's the only thing that's going to cause change in your life. We can't get to where we want using the same thoughts, ideas, and patterns that we did yesterday. That's going to yield us the exact same result today. So, through repetition of new ideas, good ideas, like this whole lesson is a very good idea to incorporate into your life because this will help you to change the programming. And if you're still listening, I congratulate you because this is so important. And if you truly apply this, it will change your life. Now, it's going to take a little time. It's not going to be super easy at first, but you're going to be doing this and you're going to think, man, maybe for months, maybe for a year. And you're going to say, I've been doing this. I've been thinking this way. I've been doing what this guy says I should do. And I don't see any change. There's no apparent change. And this is how we start to let that outside reality control our thoughts. We're sensing things, we're seeing it, we're hearing it, we're touching it, and we're letting it control how we think instead of using our higher faculties, changing our perception maybe on an idea or a situation and say, how can I look at this in a good way? What good could come out of this? You have to immediately look for the good in the things in your life. And I've actually gotten into a habit of immediately looking for the good. So anything I go through, I'm gonna say, well, that's good. Or someone says, oh, I lost my job. Well, that's good. And some people will look at you kind of confused, but it's like, well, if you believe that it's working for your benefit and that this is going to just help you and propel you in your life to a better place, well, then it is good. It is. It's all in how we choose to perceive it. And we have the choice. That's the thing. Man, it would be a very crappy life if it was her fault, his fault, their fault, the boss's fault, the company's fault, the weather's fault, the car's fault for breaking down. I mean, if everything controlled us and we had no say in our life, I mean, who would really want to be here? But we do have a say. And we're allowing these things to control our thoughts. We need to take back control, take the wheel back, and say, okay, I am going to control myself. This is the mind and this is my body. My body wants to get up and do things that it's used to, the same patterns, but I'm going to use my mind and say, no, body, we'll do that. We'll get the coffee, we'll get the mail, we'll check our DMs, we'll check our emails. But right now, I am focusing on some new ideas and I'm focusing on how that can be a benefit to me and others. And maybe you're not in a spot right now where you feel like you can be a help to anyone else. That's okay. Focus on yourself because in early recovery, that's really what we need to do. We need to be selfish in that sense of focusing on our recovery, putting ourselves first. And there might be some people that don't like that, but I'm sure they like it worse when you're strung out and doing whatever you got to do to get the next one, right? So let's change that. That's what this whole lesson is about, is learning about ourselves. When you can study yourself and learn about yourself, that's really all you have to do. Because when I started to understand myself better, now I started to understand everyone else better. Because human beings are exactly the same in our nature. It's just our behaviors that vary greatly. So, how we do one thing is how we do all things. And once you understand that, then any goal that you set to achieve for yourself, you're going to get it the same way. And it starts with the thinking. It starts with us taking control of our thinking and not letting the outside environment, result, situations, and circumstances control how we think. We have the power to choose any thought. It wasn't him. It wasn't her. It was me. It was me. I had to learn that. Guys, I found myself homeless with almost 5 years clean. And honestly, doing the right thing, working, trying my best. And I'm like, God, why am I in this situation when I've been doing everything to the best I can and right and staying clean? And I had to really take a look at my results and myself and say, okay, there's got to be something that I am doing that has got me here. This didn't happen by accident. I am here for a reason. Something I did got me here. So what is it? And at first it's like, I know people tell me all these things about me that I have to change, that, well, you act this way, you're selfish, you're self-centered, you're manipulative, whatever it is. And it's like, I hear you, but I have no clue where to even start on how to change this. It starts with understanding who we are. Understand that there is perfection in you. There is perfection in your spiritual DNA. It requires no further modification or improvement. It is perfect. So that perfection lies within you. It has been designed and put in you on purpose. So understand that no matter how low you are or how you feel, how bad you might feel or think about yourself, understand that there is that spark of perfection in you. And it's more than a spark, trust me. It's just not, it's not the surface right now. It's not apparently visible or seeable in your mind. And so we think that we're just losers. Like I always thought, man, this is probably just how I'm going to die. I'm probably just going to die a strung out addict. And I always knew that there was more for me. I always knew I had far more potential than what I was putting out there and what I was doing with my life. I knew I did. I just didn't know how to get there. And that's why this lesson is so important. We call it the Stickman lesson. It might be a very simple illustration, but it gives us an accurate picture of the mind. So if we're trying to change our mind on something, we need, and we think in images, right? Like our car and refrigerator example in the beginning, we need to have a picture of the mind. And this is it. This is that picture of the mind. And we have been deterred from using our imagination. Maybe in school from a very young age, you're looking out the window, daydreaming, you're using your imagination, you're thinking of different things. And the teacher goes, hey, pay attention. Look here. Look what you're doing. Watch where you're going. Listen to me. And we're trained from a very young age to start to interpret everything with our five senses instead of encouraging people to use their imagination, encouraging children to explore and helping them to understand reason and helping them to memorize things. This is what separates us from the animal kingdom. So whenever in traditional recovery, they say it took me to the animalistic level, like for me, I was at the animalistic level where you're like a savage with claws and gnashing teeth, and you're just out there running around doing whatever you can just to get more drugs in you. And that's what I was doing. And it literally took me down to the animalistic level. Well, it's time to start using and engaging our higher mental faculties. And again, there's six of them: perception, will, reason, imagination, memory, and intuition. Perception, will, reason, imagination, memory, and intuition. And we can actually work on these things just like a muscle at the gym and we can strengthen it. People are like, well, I have a bad memory. Well, you have a perfect memory. You just haven't exercised it enough to strengthen it. It's there. Or my intuition, I don't really understand when people are trying to take advantage of me. We can start to improve our intuition. We got to trust our gut instinct. And there's every single time I didn't trust my gut instinct when the inside was screaming at me, this was not a good idea. You shouldn't do this. Don't go that way. And I just brushed it off. I didn't listen to it. And every single time without fail, it led me to something bad, whether it was years later, moments later, a week, a month later, it always led me to something bad. And so I had to learn to start to trust that intuition, what it was telling me. You know, I walk past people and I just get this emotional smack in the face. That's intuition. You can tell if someone's a good person or a bad person, or if they're upset or if they're happy, even if they have no expression. You can feel the energy radiating off of the person. This lesson we can go much, much deeper in. There's so much more to cover, but I wanted to give you something that you can start to implement immediately. So, okay, Ray, I see what you're saying. I understand. I can relate. I feel it. But how? How again? I don't understand. How am I supposed to make use of this in my actual day-to-day life? It's going to start with recognizing the pattern. Okay, we've got to challenge our beliefs. We've got to challenge the ideas we have. We've got to say, okay, what is the dominating feeling and emotion of my day? What are the dominating thoughts of the day? If I'm feeling anxious all day long, okay, what am I thinking that is making me feel this way? Because the best thing about anxiety is it's a mental thing most of the time. There are some physical things that can affect our anxiety inside, but the greatest thing about anxiety is most of the time it is a mental way of thinking. And so we begin to notice the patterns. Self awareness is where it's going to start. Notice what I'm doing in my day to day activity. What am I thinking in those moments? How is it making me feel? And then that feeling, again, must be expressed. So I'm going to start to act. And it's like, okay, take a look at your results. If you're not happy with them, what are you thinking about during this result process that we get? Everybody gets. Everybody has results. So if I want to change something in my life and it's my results, well, it's not him, her, the boss, the car. It's none of that stuff. It's me. And we need to take full responsibility for ourselves, for who we are inside. And we need to say, okay, what could I have done differently? And this is where the key to freedom is going to be found. It's through knowledge and understanding coupled with faith. You've got to have faith that these ideas, you've got to buy into it. If not, if you say, it's a load of crap, I mean, you're never, okay, what's your other option then? I mean, if you're not in a spot that you want to be in life, and I'm telling you, this is how to improve your life and get to the spot you want to be in, get the results you want, and you're saying no, well, then what's your plan? I think I'm telling you guys, this changed my life. And I went through recovery for years and did all the NA stuff, I'm blessed, it changed my life. But later on, I was introduced to this information. And I started to put the pieces together and see, wow, that's what I was doing when they told me to do this, or when I did that, or when they said, put your commitments first, stay true to your commitments, no matter what, and you start to do these things, you start to pick up after yourself, you keep your room clean, and all these things start to come together day after day after day. And it doesn't seem like anything is changing at first. And then one day you wake up and it's almost like you missed it. It's like you blinked and you missed it. And it's changed. And it's almost so subtle that you don't notice it, but you just find yourself doing these things. Here's a simple example of something I hated to do, which was fill the water pitcher. Okay. It seemed like that's a never ending job. I got to fill the water pitcher because I like to drink filtered water. I don't drink water from the tap, I like it filtered. And I'd be like, man, I got to fill this water again. And so I said to myself, I hate doing this. So if I force myself to do it long enough, eventually I'm just going to do it and I'm not even going to think about it. And over the course of 6 months or so, I made a habit. And now I just fill the water pitcher and it doesn't bother me. I don't even think about it. It's become a habit. And that's a small thing, but it is the small things in life that add up. If it's like, man, I hate filling the water pitcher. I hate doing the dishes. I hate this. I'm so sick of this. I'm so sick of that. I'm so sick and tired. And I'm just buzzing with this negative energy and I'm starting to act on it. I'm throwing things, I'm saying things to people that don't deserve to be treated that way. And I'm attracting the negative results back into my life. And it's everybody else's fault and problem but me. Meanwhile, I have taken no personal accountability. I need to change the way I'm thinking about things. And this isn't just like once I grasp this, I'm done. This is a lifelong process. And just like the 12 steps, it's a way of life. It's not just something you go through once, some questions that you answer and go over with a sponsor. It's a lifelong process. And we do it over and over again. And we start to see, wow, I immediately made amends to that person. I take a daily inventory. I look at what I did, how I responded, how I reacted, how I was feeling, how I can improve that if it gave me a result I didn't want, how I can get better results in my life. How can I improve my relationships? You start to grow into these things and think, all right, how is what I'm doing, acting, thinking, and feeling, how is it affecting me and everybody around me? Through the repetition of these ideas, I suggest watching this video over and over and over again. Watch the lesson, get an understanding for it. If you have questions or you'd like to learn more, please leave a comment below, send a DM, whatever it takes. I will help you to get there. I want to empower you to be a force of change in your own life and empower you to know that no matter how low you are, how low you think you are, or that you have been, you can turn it around. If you're alive today and watching this, then there's hope. There's hope for you that you can change it. Guys, I was voted most likely to fail in high school. I started using drugs when I was 12 years old. I ended up homeless on the streets. My addictions were so crazy and blown out of proportion. And I know a lot of you can relate to this because you've been through the same thing or are going through the same thing. I was so hopeless and the feelings were so bad, so dark, so negative. I was visited by demons. All this stuff was in my world. I mean, I'm not even exaggerating. I would have visitations almost every single night by some dark entity or entities. And I was allowing that into my life by my thoughts, feelings, and actions. I was separated. I was severed from source, from God. My spiritual connection was it wasn't even shorting out, it was just dead. Shorting out was the beginning of it. And whenever we put a drug in us or a substance, alcohol, whatever it is, we are literally severing connection with spirit. And then we're moving into a different plane of vibration, and spirit's up here and we're moving down here. And the more I use, the more I put in me, the longer this went on, the less connection I had to God or to spirit, to source, whatever you want to call it. I call it God. And I also call that power that flows to and through me, Holy Spirit. But I encourage you to look into this on your own and come to your own conclusions and understanding, because I can't do that for you. No one could do it for me. I had to put the pieces together. And it takes some time. It takes some serious effort and wanting to understand. I mean, if you want a different result in your life, you're not getting the results you want. You should really be looking at this. You shouldn't be brushing this off. This isn't just like some simple thing that doesn't, it's not a meaningless thing is what I'm trying to say. It is simple, but it's not easy. It takes effort. It takes a true desire to want to change. And if you're like me and you knew that there was more potential in you than what you were putting out there or giving yourself and others, pay attention to this. Understand that we can choose the thoughts. First starts with self-awareness. We need to be aware of what we're thinking, what we're doing, and start to change that little by little. And it's going to seem very hard at first for a while, because you got to think, let's say for me, I'll take myself as an example, and I used for about 2 decades, right? Active addiction. And my first 30 days clean, I'm expecting everything to change, people to trust me, to have the nice job, the house, the car, the girl, all that stuff, right? And if you walk 20 miles into the woods, into the forest, and you want to get back to the road where you started from, well, how far do you have to walk to get back? Well, you've got to turn around and walk 20 miles back to the road. So this is how the process of recovery is. Now, I'm not saying if you've used for decades or years that it's going to take decades, the exact same amount of time to get back, but it's going to take some time. And when you put it into that kind of perspective, okay, I've walked into this forest so far. Now I have to turn around and walk back out. Well, that adds a new perspective. And again, mental faculty perspective. We're shifting the way we look at things. Okay, well, this makes sense now. Now I understand why it's taking so much work for me to get back to where I want to be, to get back to the path, the road of life, right? Instead of in the forest of death. It's going to take some time. And these are things and ideas that help me to continue, even when times were tough, even when I lost somebody, a parent, a death in a family, whatever it was. I look at these things. I'm like, okay, I'm just walking back to the road of life. And I've actually gotten there. And it didn't take me 20 years to get back to the road of life. But there was other things that are still taking time for me to sort out within my personality, within myself, within the paradigm, the program. There are a lot of things. I mean, everything, all our results are tied to the paradigm. If you change the paradigm, you will change the results, but not before. If you do not change the paradigm on a subconscious level, again, you're never going to get a different result in life. You're just toast. That's just the way it works. So I hope this lesson had helped you. I know it helps me. And that's why I wanted to share it with you because it's been such a powerful tool in my life and my road to recovery and beyond the recovering from addiction. Like I'm building a business, I'm doing big things, I'm helping people. This will help me in every area of my life, my relationships, my spirituality, my finances. This idea applies to everything. When you start to understand it, you start to understand this is how I work as a person, as an individual. And now you start to understand how other people work, and you'll start to see their paradigms. You'll start to hear them say things that they don't want, but they're saying it anyway. And it's like, well, is that how you want it to be? No. Well, then why are you thinking of it? Why are you giving it energy? When we plant a seed in the earth, it takes energy, water, and things in the soil, nutrients. It draws it towards it. It's in harmonious vibration with exactly what it needs to become, let's say, a big oak tree, an acorn into an oak tree. And if you cut open the acorn, there's no oak tree inside there. There's no oak tree. You can get the world's best microscope. You will not find an oak tree. This thing has to go through this process. It attracts to it all the things it needs, and it starts to grow and blossom. That's exactly how we are. And so, given that that is the nature of how things work, and we can now understand how we are growing into the results we're growing into, we can now change it. So you're not yet who you're going to be, and you're not who you used to be. But that is the greatest thing, is that as humans, we have unlimited potential. We're not destined to a pattern plan to be this addict. Like an oak tree, an acorn, it's got a pattern plan. It can only grow into an oak tree. It can't be a daisy, it can't be any other thing. It can't be a pine tree. It's stuck to being an oak tree. And we were blessed with the ability to change our environment, change our thinking, and grow in anything we wanted to be. Literally, anything you have a passion for, I should say. I'm not saying you could be anything you want to be like a lot of people do. I say you can be and do anything that you have a passion for, because it's difficult and you have to love it if you want to truly pursue it and do it. You have to start somewhere. And let's say your life is miserable and you want to hang it up like I did. I tried to commit suicide. I came back, and it was like I could not escape. And I'm so grateful. At the time, I was very ungrateful. I was very upset, but I'm so grateful now that I didn't go away. I didn't die, and I continued. And it was like, okay, well, I got to start to figure this out, and I did. And I study stuff every single day. I'm constantly trying to improve myself because my life depends on it, and the lives of the people I help depend on it. to a very large degree. So if I'm giving somebody false or wrong information, well, that's not very good. That's not good at all. I don't want to lead people down the wrong path. I want to lead them to the path of life. We've gotten off the beaten trail. We've gotten off the road of life. We're lost in the woods. And I'm here to say, hey guys, here's a flare. Come this way, so you can take with this what you want. You can take it or leave it. I suggest you take it and apply it. And again, if you have questions, comments, please put them down below and I will get back to you as soon as possible. Thanks for listening. This is Ray from Ray's Recovery. I'll talk to you soon.